Beard. Spring had finally come to the Canadian prairies, so Warren decided to shave off the beard he had been growing since Halloween of the previous year. He didn't shave it off himself, of course, but engaged the services of a professional barber surgeon who had the proper tools for the job, such as a Husqvarna chainsaw. But no sooner had he left the barber's when he began to regret his decision. That beard makes me look so kindly and benevolent, Warren said to himself. Much, much nicer than the stinker that I really am. And so it was that Warren went to bed with a heavy heart, went to sleep, and dreamed. Dreamed he was in a great hall lined with mirrors, which showed him his clean-shaven face multiplied to eternity, and each reflection was a reproach that seemed to call out to him, which did call out to him in deep and angry tones. Traitor, traitor, you shaved that most noble beard. Warren suddenly found he had a gun in his hand, a .357 Magnum, and as the accusing voices became shriller and louder, he pointed it towards the mirrors and fired again and again and again and again. Geez, I wonder how many bullets there are in a .357 Magnum. Never mind. The mirrors shattered into a million jagged pieces that rained on the floor of the chamber, and then everything dissolved into a thick mist, an opaque fog that quickly filled the hall. There were figures in the mist, the figures of bearded men. The bearded men were of all races and ages, and dressed in the clothing of various periods, the greatest number wearing the fashions of the Victorian era. Their beards came in many styles as well, mostly full beards, incredibly long, but some jawline beards, some neck beards, some goatees, in various shades of brown, black, white, gray, and even red. They were all staring at Warren coldly and reproachfully, and then they all spoke at once in unison. Traitor! Traitor! Why have you shaved off that most noble beard? They began moving towards him, arms raised to strike, and each of them held a weapon, a knife, a dagger, a dirk, an axe, a sword, or a machete. And as they advanced, they intoned in loud, solemn voices, Traitor! Traitor! The death of 1,000 cuts! They crowded around, and then Warren woke up. Warren lay there stunned for a moment. Okay, he's usually stunned, but never mind. Warren lay there stunned for a moment until he realized he was safe in his warm bed and that it had all been a bad dream, a nightmare. But there was something in the hall, just outside the bedroom. A figure slid forward and stood in the open doorway. He was dressed like a biblical patriarch, with an iron-gray beard that hung to his waist and dark eyes that blazed at Warren with both fanaticism and hatred. And then he pounced. The bearded man slammed down on Warren's chest, suffocating him. Convulsed with terror, Warren tried to push him away, but his hairy nemesis became heavier and heavier and heavier, till Warren couldn't breathe. And then he woke up again. Another nightmare. And he stayed awake until the dawn's early light. Sometime after 8 a.m., Warren padded into the bathroom to Well, to shave. What do you think he was going to do in there? He now had to shave again. But a funny thing happened when he went to shave his kisser. He kept nicking and cutting himself until his face was covered by bloody clumps of shaving cream or little wads of pink toilet paper. It was like unseen forces, some invisible hands, were bumping and jostling him, making him cut himself over and over and over again. If this keeps up, my face is going to look like it's covered with dueling scars, Warren said to himself. And then he noticed his bleeding mug wasn't the only face staring back at him from the bathroom mirror. The gods of facial hair, the bearded elders, the full beards, the neckbeards, the goatees, the black beards and the gray beards, even the red beards, were staring out at him with mingled looks of approbation and disgust. And then the rough hands reached out and began pinching his cheeks hard. It hurt. And as Warren was butt naked, they pinched all his cheeks. Ouch! Warren gave up and went back to bed, pulling the blanket over his head and not moving again until it was full daylight. Warren dispensed with shaving and showering that day, dousing himself with aftershave to mask his B.O. But as the darkness took control, Warren wondered how he might get through the night unmolested, and after racking the corridors of his twisted mind, he got an idea, and from a box of old Halloween decorations, he selected a fake beard worn to parties as part of his old codger costume many years before he actually became a real old codger himself. At bedtime, he donned the fake beard and lay back in anticipation of a full night of restful sleep. And at midnight, the figure once again appeared in the doorway, the biblical patriarch with his iron-gray beard and dark eyes that blazed at Warren with both fanaticism and hatred. Warren was still awake and smiled to himself as he thought, "Now I've got you, you old." But suddenly, the patriarch darted forward and grabbed the beard with both hands, pulling it off Warren's face until stopped by the rubber band that held it in place. And then he let go. The fake beard snapped back into place and into face with the force of a loud slap. Ouch! So, once again, Warren stayed awake for the rest of the night, with every light in the house turned on. In the morning, he threw away his razor, started rubbing his face with aftershave, and began taking vitamin E. To hell with waiting for winter. He was growing his beard back. Now! The moral of the story? When the gods of facial hair came to beard him in his lair, Warren's escape was a close shave. If this is your first visit to my channel, please consider subscribing. My name is Warren, and I write and tell original ghost stories and original horror stories featuring such cryptids as the Night Floaters, werewolves, and the Black-Eyed Children. So again, please consider subscribing. Please help me to reach my goal of 2,500 subs. Till midnight. Cheers. Pictures used in today's video were taken by Dr. Curious, while the music was the classic and eerie Ghost Story by that patron of the internet, Kevin MacLeod.